Thank you, Chuck. That was really great to see some of those listings. Good morning and welcome to Live from Western New York. I loved the waterfront properties that you showcased, and maybe in a future episode, Chuck and Lisa, you can do all waterfront properties going into, the month of June, July, and August. It would be great to see some of those. I'm sure we have many, many buyers looking for waterfront property right now. And again, welcome to Live from Western New York. We have our leadership team on today. Kevin Horan is going to be subbing for Ken. But other than that, we have Matthew and Lou, who are going to be our featured speakers this morning, and Kathy Bianchi on the call as well. So good morning to all of you. And our next slide is welcoming our newest Hannah Realtors, Ashley Klenk, who has returned back to the Grand Island office. We're thrilled to have Ashley back with us, and Eric Harkins on the Rich Testa team. So welcome to both of you, as well as Denise in Irondequoit. So good morning to all of you. Welcome to all of our newer Realtors joining Howard Hanna, and best of luck to each and every one of you. So this morning, we're going to have the Spencerport office showcased with Renee. She is ready to roll. Good morning, Renee.
Hello, how is everyone today? Hopefully you guys had a wonderful weekend. I know in Rochester, it was a little busy with, of course, the PGA and the Lilac Festival. But this morning, we're going to shift to Spencerport. Spencerport is a very small, little canal side town. It's a little village. We are fortunate to have our own village electric. I do look at a lot of the stats. I can tell you that in the last 5 years, I looked at pre-COVID to post-COVID. Our average price point in Spencerport is $270,000 with a max price point of 601. That's a 30% increase over pre-COVID numbers. I look at pre-COVID as 2019. So we're up 30%, and year to date, we are on track for the same. So we haven't really gone up. We haven't really gone down. We're really just kind of staying right around that 270 average price point with a $600,000 max. Historically speaking, Spencerport has always been a low inventory kind of area. It's very sought after. It is on the west side of Monroe County, so it's the west side of the river. We have one of the top school districts in the area, about 1,400 households in the village, but the school district also includes Ogden. On the west side, what we have is steeped in tradition. So the community here in Spencerport is very, very tight-knit. People all tend to know each other and get involved in a lot of the community events. We have a wonderful firemen's parade coming up on June 8th. The actual carnival is from the 7th through the 10th. And they have tons of activities. So if anybody's in the area, come on out and see for yourself how wonderful Spencerport is. We also have a Canal Days festival in July, which is amazing. It brings in thousands of spectators from the area. Our school district is one of the really shining bright stars of Spencerport. Our robotics team has been in place since 2009, and they've won numerous awards and made it to the first world championship 7 times, and they made it to the final match in 2016. I know all of this because my nephew was on the robotics team, so I had to hear about it every year. So anybody who has buyers who have, STEM kids or looking into STEM programs, the Spencerport robotics team is top notch in this area. The other thing they do shine with is their athletics. So they're actually known in the US, and I actually just learned this myself. I always thought they were like big into soccer, which they are, and we'll talk about in a second, but they're actually best known for their wrestling program. They are known across the United States as an accomplished wrestling program. So again, if you have any buyers with wrestlers in the family, you might want to add Spencerport as a potential school district to look at. And their soccer teams are top notch. Both the female, I should say the girls and the boys soccer teams for Spencerport made it to state finals last year. So it's a hotbed for soccer. Great for those people who have little athletes in their family. Also great for people who don't have athletes. We have a lot of areas here that do have some rural acreage, but then we have a lot of newer builds as well. So we have at least 2 tracks going up in Spencerport. If anybody wants more information about those, give me a call. I'd be happy to tell you what I know about them. But other than that, Spencerport is a great place for family. It's a great place for anyone to live. Spencerport Hots is one of the best little Hots restaurants in Rochester. I know it's a fan favorite for some folks in management. And Luigia's is a fantastic ice cream place. And I know there's many people, even as far east as Webster and Pittsford, who have hired Luigia's to come out to their graduation parties to have their fantastic ice cream. That's about it for Spencerport. I just want to let you know it is a fabulous little town. We love it here, and we'd love it if you guys came to visit us.
I can tell you love it. That's awesome.
We do.
And what a fabulous PGA. I know so many people were, glued to their TVs that couldn't be there live. So many people were there live, but such an exciting time right now. We jumped on the call this morning and someone said, "Wow, you're in a good mood today." And I said, it's such a great time of year right now. There's so much going on. We just came off Mother's Day. We're going into Father's Day. I know the weekend was just filled with, social media posts of graduations and community events going on, festivals, like you mentioned, Renee, the Lilac Festival, so much fun going on, and so many opportunities to have conversations with people and for us to be front and center, which I think is a really good segue into Matthew and Lou's talk this morning about consultation and meeting with people, because every single opportunity that someone has to approach us and say, "So what's happening in the market? I heard it's really crazy." We're in front of people right now more than we have been for several months coming out of winter. So Lou and Matt, what do you have to say about all that?
Morning. Thank you, Charlene.
Good morning, everyone.
Lou and I were having a conversation over the weekend and prior, and one of the things that we are seeing in Western New York is that for the last few years, and even now, as we've been a little slow, but moving into the summer market, there still is a lot of fast-paced movement, and there's not. It's kind of like we're letting the tail wag the dog. We're not taking control and sitting down and being kind of responsible for guiding people through consultation. We're just kind of, like I said, letting the tail wag the dog, right, Lou? You're seeing that in your neck of the woods, and
yep, we talked about that, Matt.
So. One of the things we started breaking down was there's so many different areas and so many different strategies that we have. There's different forums that we have at our boards. There's different things that we are doing. But do you guys really know why you're doing them? For example, a delayed negotiation, delayed showings, do you know why you use them? Or do you just use them because you were always taught because that was the marketplace? Lou and I talked about open houses, knowing how to actually do an open house. Think about this, if you learned how to do an open house during a buyer's market versus a seller's market, it might be different how you go through it. So do you know why you're doing what you're doing? Lou, do you want to elaborate on any of that?
Yeah, and I think it comes back to when Matthew and I were talking, it's going back to the basics of understanding what real estate really looks like. And, you're the trusted advisor, with your clients. So not to be able to sit down with them from a buyer perspective or a seller perspective to kind of let them know the mindset of the market, right now and what that looks like. And each market, like Matthew said, is going to be different. So the key is educating them, and understanding that, it's just not throwing a piece of property out there or running to somebody's house and signing a quick listing agreement or doing something through Authenticign. It's taking the time to sit down and really have a great consultation with them and put them in the right frame of mind.
Kind of in this manner, I think about like financial advisors, and there's different types of financial advisors, but there's what's called a fiduciary. And fiduciaries have to do what's in the best interest of their client. They're not able to tell them to go buy this and then they go buy other stuff. They have to be very open and honest with what they're doing and how they're doing it. But I think about that. If you were going to go sit with a financial planner or somebody like that, they don't say, oh my God, it's chaos. We got to go now. Like, let's do it now. We're going to do this, this, this. And they don't just take you. They sit down and say, what are your goals? What are we going to do? This is why this is important. This is why I don't know if that's in your best interest. Here's why. Let's discuss it. So it's kind of all of these little pieces that we're using, all these forms that we have, all this stuff, why are you doing it? And can you explain to the person that you're consulting, this is why I believe this is a good idea and it fits your strategy. It may not be for everyone, but this is why, based on what, Lou, you shared with me, this is where I think we need to go and why I think it's a good idea. I think that there's this idea that the consumer really knows what they need to do and how they need to do it. I think instead they have an urgency and it's our responsibility to slow them down,
Yep, setting expectations like we talked about, Matthew. From the buyer's perspective, and I know some of the buyers are getting tired, but you can't, tell a buyer, well, why don't you wait a month? Why don't you wait till next year? Why don't you re-sign your lease? Because they really want to buy. And if you're not consulting with them in the right way and giving them the right information based on what's going on right now and keeping them positive and understanding that it is an investment and they would be benefiting from that investment ultimately, and showing them. And I know Matthew and I talked a lot about, sitting down and showing a buyer what the benefits and how they outweigh in any market, good market, bad, it doesn't make a difference. You have to show them and educate them.
And as we're educating them, Lou brought up there are challenges. Are you making sure that you are preparing them for potential challenges, but also not making the decisions for them, but showing them? I've heard a lot of buyers say, for example, I hear I'm going to have to waive my rights. I hear I'm not going to be able to have an inspection. I hear I'm not going to. Well, is that absolutely true? No. But if we want to do these things, here's different strategies that we might have to consider. Here are other ways that we can strengthen our offers. Here's other things. Are we just saying, for example, like if somebody said that, yeah, you're probably going to have to do that. That seems like that's really not consultation. That's the tail wagging the dog. And I talked about the financial planners. I think about, I had a failed root canal. So I went to the dentist and I'm like, I need to get this fixed. And it's like 3 weeks out. And I'm like, what do you mean it's 3 weeks? He didn't have this urgency. He just kind of said, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put you on this pad. This is what we're going to, if this happens, you're going to get some medicine. And but I had this crisis. Like, what do you mean? I got to get this done now. Look what's happening. And I had this crisis where, just as a consultant, he said, you're good. It's what we're going to do. We're going to do this. Then we're going to do this. He showed me everything, asked if I had any questions. They did this whole 3D thing where I looked like a pirate skeleton, and it was cool. But it really calmed me down because I thought I was going to get my tooth taken out. I thought that I was going to have pain for months. And, again, even though it's delayed a little bit from when I'm going to have my surgery or whatever it is, it's still it was a consultative conversation versus this emotional crisis that was pushing me towards that. So I kind of look at us the same way. There is such this crazy environment right now, and we have to make sure that we are calm and we are kind of saying to them, no problem, come into the office. I think that that's another habit, Lou, that we were chatting about.
Yeah,
we need to start bringing people into our offices and showing them that we are consultants and that we sit down and we guide them and we answer questions and we introduce them to our mortgage consultants, and we have a whole package that it's not just, yeah, I'll meet you at the gas station and then we'll just go look at this property with 30 seconds to see it. And, good luck, so I think that we got to get back to that consultative approach.
And strategy, the strategy behind it all, from both sides, from the buyer side as well as the seller side. And Matthew and I were chatting about, having them, bringing them into the office and sitting with, a first P consultant, and ultimately giving them another option. I had a buyer this weekend that I, long time buyer that I sold a house to, and she wants to buy a house. And it was the same thing. And she said, well, I called another company and so on and so forth. And I said, you really need to look and see with all the different programs that are out there, let's have First P have a conversation with you to see. They may have a program that your lender doesn't, because we talked about that. So that was part of being at a home and really understanding there was a sense of urgency now, and then they started to listen a little bit more. But giving them those opportunities to strategize, when they're at an open house, looking at all these people come in, being that consultant, it was definitely big. She called, the loan officer this morning, and they're working on things. So those are the things that you really have to do when you're working with buyers, is you have to strategize from the same perspective with the sellers, understanding and listening. The key is, and they've always said, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? So ultimately, Matthew and I were saying, so many agents just assume, and again, if you're not hearing and listening and understanding what everybody's looking for, it's hard for you to manipulate and strategize.
Could I just throw something out there too for the two of you to comment on? Lou, you said assumptions, agent assumptions. And Matt, you started out by talking about, the why behind, something like a delayed negotiation, or, is it in the best interest of your client? And I had an interesting conversation with an agent over the weekend. She had shown a house, and I said to her, gee, are you doing an offer? The house was listed at $299,900. And she said, no, I told my people not to bother because they can only go up to $320,000. And that's an assumption. And it speaks to, the urgency piece that Matthew talked about. It speaks to the assumption part, Lou, that you spoke about, and agents making decisions, based on what the market has been like. So can you add anything to that? Because that's, that's just not right.
Well, and that buyer that I had this weekend, the property was listed at 450, and there was activity there, and they can only go to 475. And she said the same thing. She said to me, I don't think we're going to bother because this is going to go way over. And I'm like, listen, I said to her, we don't know what that's going to look like. I said, but again, it would be in your best benefit to at least put the offer in that you felt good about, where the property should be based on where your comfort level is. Not talking them out of it, not assuming, oh yeah, you're right, it's going to go over. Let's not waste our time and go find something else. Again, that's the assumption part that the agents do, and feeding into the buying aspect of it all.
I think that, to just piggyback off of those things, Charlene had shared that the property was listed at $299,900. So I think the first thing is, again, why is it $299,900? So for example, why are we doing that? There's a reason that we used to price houses that way. And some of us just keep doing it because of that psychological component that we have. That was a strategy years and years ago. So even when you're pricing property, why are you pricing it the way that you're pricing it? Why are you listing it there? Secondly, going back to the consumer, I think it's great when you start to become a consultant, you ask good questions. So for example, rather than an assumption, you make an inquiring question. So if they said, well, we want to do X. Okay, that seems contrary to what you shared. Here would be my concern. If you shared that you wanted to do this, and then we did this, I would be concerned that you didn't end up owning the house. The house ended up owning you, and you really started to resent the whole position, blah, blah, blah. And you go into that. We want to make sure that we are consulting them for them to make good decisions, but they are still their decisions to make. And I think we have to remember that it is not our decision. Our point is to be a guide. And the only way that you can do that is to ask great empowering questions, and then kind of be investigative, and just kind of say, well, look, that based on what we said the first time, that doesn't seem to be matching. Why would we do that? And it's also our position to look for that emotion, because emotion trumps logic, but then to reiterate to them, if they are in that position, and say, look, I'm so emotional, I need to do this. God bless you. Here are some concerns. Here's blah, blah, blah. But if they decide they want to do it, that is their decision to make. So
100%.
I think that if you want to be a good consultant, start thinking about what are the best questions you can ask to qualify and move somebody in a direction. I think that will help tremendously.
Absolutely.
Great. So if someone says to you, you're at a party over the weekend, we have the big weekend coming, Memorial Day, how exciting. And if someone were to say to either of you can respond. So what's happening in today's market? We're thinking about making a move. Should we wait? Is now a good time? Should we go for it? Like what? Just throw out a quick word track, either one of you, for, that
Oh, it's
conversation.
always a good time to sell and buy real estate. Again, let's get together and let's figure it out. When can I set an appointment? When can we get together so I can really sit down and show you? We can talk at this point, but again, if you're really serious, let's dive into it and let's make an appointment. Always make an appointment.
I'll piggyback off that, but I do say that, if that's your goal, it's very imperative that you sit down and you have a good conversation and figure out what the best strategy is to reach your goals in this marketplace. So again, it's always a good time, as Lou said, but I think that it's imperative that if you don't have a strategy in this marketplace, that's where the challenge happens. So an informed seller, an informed buyer is going to benefit no matter what the market's doing. So it's really imperative that we sit down and have that conversation so I can help you.
Great. So you wouldn't have that conversation with the beer in your hand, right?
Well, no.
No, because again, I think that there's time and place. And I also think that if you want to have that conversation with me as a professional consultant, then let's go to my office, let's sit down and have that conversation. I want to give you the same respect I would give anybody else. And I want to make sure that you get the best treatment possible. I'm not wearing my real estate hat right now. I'm, we're at the party, having a drink, whatnot. So you're very important to me. Let's make sure that we set that up. Let's set it up right now. And now let's go watch the rest of the game or whatever, that kind of thing. So I would probably defer it that way, but set the appointment.
Super. Thank you. Thank you for giving us those, great word tracks. And I know that Kevin is going to follow up with some interesting information as well regarding consultation. Thanks, Lou and Matthew.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Charlene. I just wanted to kind of real quick go over some highlights of what's going on right now in the marketplace with First Priority. Right now, I got the new survey results. About 95% of our clients that fill out a survey, which is about half of them, will refer business back to us. Okay. And since we're part of the family and your family and we're family together, of course, when we get a referral back from the client, we give it right back to you as the agent. So remember that. This is not just making sure that we take care of you and your client today. It's to make sure we take care of each other in the future. Okay. This is how our model is all about. And one of the things that before I knew that Matt was going to be talking about consultants, I put that on my page because being a consultant these days, going to First Priority Mortgage Consultants, there's a reason that we're called that. We're very good at what we do. And I know you guys, a lot of you know that, but it's just not what is the interest rate today. And we figure it out at the end of the day. We're not just loan officers, we're experienced. And I wanted to kind of go over a couple quick things. And it has to do with what Lou and Matt was talking about. So this is a perfect fit. If a client has lost a couple deals, let's say a buyer specifically, they really need, we got to reset. We have to sit down. We have to have a phone conversation. We got to figure out what is going on. We have a lot of word tracks. We have a lot of ways to help you structure this deal with the client. If you have any buyers that have lost 2 deals in a row, and I say lost, put 2 offers that didn't get accepted, let's take a step back. Let's get them over to us. Let's figure out what we can do. We'll give them $100 if they're not with us already, for the second look. And let's see if we can come up with a strategy together to make this thing work, as opposed to like we're talking about, wow, 425 will never work. Don't even bother. There's a lot of ways. I had a client the other day, was all about putting 20% down. That's fine. We got the contract. All of a sudden, he got very nervous with how much cash he needed. I said, you know what? Let's just pay the $20 PMI. We'll put 15% down instead of 20. He goes, it's only $20. I said, yeah, it's $20 plus the extra loan. He's like, let's just do it. And they were very happy at the end of the day. If you have anybody looking to another perfect example, we have a lot of folks out there today that may have a house free and clear. They want to buy, they want to downsize. That buy before you sell that we have is a huge program. I just did another one over the weekend. She owns a house in South Buffalo. It's probably worth 3.25. She wants to buy this $250,000 condo. At the end of the day, she is not looking for a mortgage. She just needs a short-term loan. I put it together and the offer was put in on Sunday. I'm waiting to see if that loan was accepted. So at the end of the day, it is all about working together as a team, as opposed to just spitting out numbers and hoping that your client gets the deal. The reason that the client will give us a high mark at the end of the day, which means it makes you as the agent that much better when they look at you in the future, like, thank you for handing that loan off to Sean or Ross or whoever else is on my team, that type of thing. It's all about making sure that we had a consultant. We ask a lot of questions. There's a reason we ask a lot of questions. There's a reason we don't just flippantly say, oh yeah, rates are 6% now. Are you kidding me? We already talked about this numerous times in this market. I can't quote a rate until I have all the questions, all the answers to my questions answered with the credit score and everything. It's very difficult just to wing it these days. We just can't. So at the end of the day, A, we appreciate you allowing us to help you in your business, and B, allowing us to be the consultant that we really are will all make us all look better at the end of the day. And once again, anyone lost a couple deals, reach out to your loan officer, say, hey, what do you think? Spend a few minutes just talking to us. We may have the story that you're looking for. Thanks,
Great.
guys. I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Kevin. That's awesome. And I know we have a couple of community events coming up, and we wanted to mention those as well. Kathy, I believe that you're still on. If you or Lou want to speak to the Stroll for Strong Kids, that would be great.
Yeah, we just need more people to sign up. We've got some t-shirts and we'll have a good time. So, use the QR code, sign up, and it'll be good. June 4th, Genesee Valley Park, 8 a.m.
Right. And also on June 4th, in the Buffalo area, there's the Pride Parade that we always participate in. And anyone who's interested, please email Brian Miller or Tyler Duncan. They're going to be meeting at the Buffalo State parking lot at 8:30. The parade is at 11. So we have two great events coming up. And so we hope that you will participate if you're available. In addition to that, just wanted to mention that we have a lot going on with training in the month of June. We will not have a live from Western New York next Monday because it will be Memorial Day. So we hope that you have a wonderful weekend, you and your family, and parades going on everywhere. And remember what Lou and Matthew and Kevin shared with you about consultation. You're going to be in front of people. Please make sure that you extend the invitation. So leadership team, do you have anything else you want to share, or is it a wrap?
Just have a great week, everyone, and have
Yeah.
a great Memorial Day weekend with your family and friends.
And thank you, Renee, for sharing Spencer Court with us this morning.
You are very welcome. It was lovely to share.
Take care, everyone. Have a great week.
Have a great week,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.